¿Qué onda, mi gente? Today we're going to talk about the 4 aspects of language learning, and I'm going to give you some ideas of how you can practice. So, in language learning, whether you're learning Spanish, English, German, Japanese, or Arabic, there are 4 skills that we have to master in order to get fluent or get to an intermediate level in a language, right? Those are 2 totally separate things. And I think something very important we can talk about is the idea of the CEFR scale. CEFR is broken down into A, B, C, right? So beginner, intermediate, advanced, right? And within that, they have 2 level degradations of high or low. And with these 4 skills, we're trying to get them as high as possible, right? And those 4 skills are reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Now, generally, there's a pretty solid pattern most people follow when they first start learning a new language. They typically are able to read first. That is typically the first one most people get really good at. And the reason why is, one, we read things from the very beginning. Whether we're reading example text from a teach yourself or a colloquial Spanish book or whatever language, we are reading basically from the beginning. It's our primary method of getting in new words. And so when it comes to reading, based on what level you're at, I've got a few different tips for you. So if you're learning to read and you are a beginner, the thing you should be doing is, 1, you should have a book for beginners, whether that is teach yourself or colloquial. They're going to give you tons of short little text, short little conversations. They're going to be super useful to help learn. As well, I also suggest that you try and read short stories. Specifically, there is a website called Quizzic. I'm gonna put it on the screen. This website is really nice because it offers you the translations right there. It lets you pick based on what level you wanna try and practice at, higher or lower. It explains the different grammar concepts that you're going over in that article so that you can better choose which one you want. I also really like at this stage the Random Spanish series from Lingualism if you're a Spanish learner, right? These books are really cool. I use them to learn Arabic, and they're really nice because they're books of just simple sentences, right? And the reason I like them is a couple fold. 1, they're single sentences, right? We don't have to worry about, are we understanding the context of the full paragraph or the entire story? Even worse, we can just focus on one sentence, dissect that sentence, and learning and paying attention to the grammar. It's also really nice because it has the translation right there, and it gives variety. It gives for el and for ella, it gives for usted and tú, and you can very easily jot down words that you don't know and learn them quite quickly. And I also really like it because it's common everyday vocabulary that you're gonna need, and it uses like a spaced repetition system to help you remember those new words, right? So every 5 or 6 sentences or however many it is, that same word you just learned is probably gonna pop up. Once you're to intermediate, I suggest you start picking up dual language books. And so this is full stories with Spanish on one side, English on the other. And you'll see 2 ways this is done. Sometimes it's like English and Spanish on half. Sometimes it's 1 page is in English, 1 page is in Spanish. Either way, really, really good. This is really good for getting fluency when it comes to reading, start to get into longer text. But it's also really nice to be able to look to the next page and find the words you don't know. You just have to look them up with a dictionary. I also suggest the app of Link by Steve Kaufman. This is a really cool app because you can upload native content, right? So if you got a story you find on BBC Mundo, you can then go and upload it into this website and have that to help you, right? It helps you to remember words. Another thing you can do is read articles just by yourself. Although I would suggest you wait until you get to the advanced stage, right, in order to do that. News articles tend to be a little bit more formal. They use a little bit more advanced sentence structure and grammar, so they're not always the easiest to understand. They also have words that are rather difficult, right? So this is really good once you're kind of in that upper intermediate, getting towards advanced level, and you want to start seeing more of the grammar concepts you're looking at in real life use, as well as pick up more advanced. And then the advanced level stage is to read a story that you have read before, right? The reason I say that you've read before is because it's going to allow you to focus on the words and the grammar and the structure of the sentence and studying the language. You're not going to be as worried about making sure you're following the entire plot, right? I've read Harry Potter, all of them, a dozen times, right? I can pick up that book in pretty much any language, and as long as I vaguely know what chapter we're in, I mostly know what's going on in the story. So I don't have to focus on, do I understand what the story is saying? I can focus just on, what's going on here grammatically, linguistically. And then the master level of this is to read Don Quixote, to read Isabel Allende, Borges, Garcia Marquez, right? Pick up one of those great novels in Spanish and read it aloud. Typically, the next thing people get really good at is writing. In order to learn a language, the first two things are always those written words. That's what we're going to get good at first. Now, when you're a beginner in writing, the thing you can do to best practice your writing is simply just copying out words. Copying out words will help practicing your conjugations, right? And making up some simple sentences. Specifically simple sentences that are relative, sentences that are relevant to your day-to-day life. Pick 3 or 4 hobbies, pick 3 or 4 places you go, pick 3 or 4 activities you do, and learn how to talk, learn how to write about them. Once you're an intermediate, once you've got the past tense, that's kind of where I start to see intermediate, is once we learn the past tense, we can open up our conversation a little bit more, we can have a lot more to talk about. So that to me is kind of the intermediate stage. We're getting into storytelling. Here it's really important to start keeping a journal. And keeping a journal is really important for a couple of reasons. So it's nice because it allows you to practice writing, one. It allows you to learn what words you don't know and what things you don't know how to talk about in your daily life, which are things that are going to continue to pop up more and more farther along you go. It's important to get those and learn those words from the beginning. And then in the advanced stage is to write short stories, write longer stories, and write poetry, right? Or writing and mastering writing is just a matter of writing longer texts, as well as focusing on those higher level linking words, right? This is where you're going to see words like sin embargo, however, aunque, even though, de todos modos, anyways, right? Where we're going to start working those in at this advanced level to make more complex thoughts, add more layers to what we're saying, and just make our writing overall better. From there, the next 2 skills that most people focus on is listening and speaking. So these 2 skills typically come more or less on the same pace. If you're more of an introvert, you're typically better at listening. If you're more of an extrovert, you're typically better at talking, but they kind of come up at the same speed. And so listening for most people tends to be the harder of the 2 versus speaking, right? It's much harder to understand what people are saying to us, especially if they're using slang, they're speaking quickly, they're not pronouncing things as well as they should. Then you might trip up over a letter or a sound every now and again, but for the most part, you're gonna manage to be understood as long as you studied listening. And so when you're listening, the first thing I suggest to do as a beginner is to pick music, to listen to music. And the idea when we're listening to music in the beginning is not that we are understanding everything that is said. We are instead listening to music with the intention of, I want to be able to figure out where the word ends and the next word begins. I'm listening more for those spaces than those words. Now, you are going to hear some words every now and again that you recognize, and you can be like, great, I recognize the word bueno or bien or whatever, right? And that's cool. But the primary purpose of music in the beginning is not to learn new words, but rather to attune your ear to Easy Spanish. However, on the other hand, if you want to look them up on YouTube, great channel. Easy Spanish is really nice for picking up vocabulary words, right? The advantage of Easy Spanish is you don't have to worry about the music going on behind it. You can just have the words, right? And you have the text both in Spanish, exactly what they're saying, and in English. So you can follow along with Spanish to start to work the ear and attune it even more, so that you're actually hearing the words even if you don't know what they mean. And then the words you don't mean, the words that you don't know what they mean, you can then look down at the subtitles in English and pick up that new word. To practice listening at an intermediate stage, I suggest that you listen to music with the lyrics. It's important to have the lyrics because now we're looking more to understand what they're being said, similar to Easy Spanish at the beginner level. We're trying to pick up what they're actually saying, right? And pick up a few words if we can. Do language lyric videos, great for this purpose. Also at this stage, you can pick like an easy cartoon, little series, and try and watch that in Spanish. The reason I say cartoon is more for me. I don't like watching like TV shows that I've already seen in Spanish. I think it sounds weird and I just don't like it. So I choose cartoons. It makes more sense. And then at the advanced stage, this is where we can start to really just open up and enjoy using Spanish, right? We can listen to the radio, we can listen to a TV show, we can listen to a movie, right? Or maybe this might be like the master level. You take a course in Spanish, right? If you go to Coursera or Udemy, edX, any of these like online college websites, you can find all kinds of courses in Spanish. If you want my list of Spanish courses for you guys to take if you're an advanced learner, go ahead and leave that comment down below, comment your email, I'll send it out to you. And then the last skill is speaking, right? So when you want to practice your speaking skills as a beginner, you really need a teacher. You need a teacher to be able to have those basic little conversations with after you've gotten past that first couple weeks of like, what are the basics of the language? What the hell is going on? Also, kind of speaking aloud to yourself, singing along to lyrics of songs, that will all be super helpful when it comes to learning to speak as a beginner. At the intermediate level, you can start to branch out a little bit. I suggest you get or try and find a language like exchange partner. Maybe you find somebody in Mexico who wants to learn English. You guys get together, you spend half the time speaking in English, half the time speaking Spanish, or even easier is that you speak in Spanish and the person learning English speaks in English. You guys find it really easy to understand, and then you can focus your energies on producing things. And then you can also choose to engage with the local Latino community, whether that's going and volunteering, that's going and joining some festival, that's going to a Latin bar, that is going to a church service in Spanish, whatever your thing is. Latinos also do it. Go out there and find that group and go hang out. And then the advanced level for speaking is to get abroad, right? Whether that is you take a trip abroad, you move abroad, whatever it may be, that is to advance your speaking skills. You have to go abroad. There really is no other choice. I don't think that you can properly learn to speak a language without going abroad, unless you just have a huge community of immigrants to go hang out. Like you could probably learn Chinese in the US because there's so many Chinatowns all over. It's gonna be a little harder to learn Japanese if you don't go to Japan. Let me finish this video. If you like this video, go ahead and like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you're interested in learning Spanish, I have a group class starting. We're gonna meet starting September 24th. Class will be at 7:15 Mexico City time, and that will be lined up with US Mountain Time currently. We will be starting at 7:15 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Class is an hour. We meet via Zoom. If you want more info on that, leave a comment down below. Just say class, and I'll get a hold of you. Leave me your email. And I also offer private lessons if you're interested in that route as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have anything you want me to do, anything to talk about, please leave it down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, click that subscribe button, like the video, leave your practice problems down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you with. I have a group class coming up. We are starting September 24th. The class will be Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:15 p.m. Mexico City Standard Time, which is US Mountain Time currently, just for reference. So the class will be at 9:15 Eastern Time or 6:15 Pacific. If you're interested in that, comment down below class and leave your email, and I will reach out to you, or send me an email at this number, or you can reach out to WhatsApp as well. I also offer private lessons for adults and kids if you're interested in going that route. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.